today, I'm thrilled to announce that SoftBank will be investing $100 billion in America, creating 100,000 American jobs at a minimum. I'm thrilled to announce today that DMAC will be investing at least $20 billion over a very short period of time into the United States, and they may go double or even somewhat more than double that amount of money. Today, Taiwan Semiconductor is announcing that they will be investing at least $100 billion in new capital in the United States over the next short period of time.
Well, $100 billion there, $50 billion here, and pretty soon you're talking about trillions of dollars. They added it all up, all of the infusion of money into an optimistic America at the helm of President Trump. It totals nearly $3 trillion. It's like half the national budget. This is incredible and not receiving nearly enough attention. It is big, seismic, actually, and the implications are great pretty much for everybody. And we have to do our part in spreading the word that the fake news just poo-poos and dismisses. All right, next, we're very, very pleased that tomorrow night we'll be hosting President Trump, an exclusive interview. I'll be at the White House speaking with the president. It is an honor, and it's always great to talk to President Trump, okay? And I think we have a certain knack, and hopefully you'll enjoy the interview. Tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. All right. Now, did you hear about the snafu? Can we call it a snafu? A little bit of an oops maneuver? All right. You know, we bombed the Houthis recently. I think we might still be bombing them. The terrorist group that is targeting the valuable shipping lanes in and out of the Red Sea and beyond. It's bad, bad stuff, and these guys have to be controlled. And some of our top people on our national security team were talking it out. Is now the right time? We had the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, Vice President Tulsi Gabbard, and several more people on the phone, including, unfortunately, a fake news guy somehow wound up on this call. Oh, boy. Jeffrey Goldberg is his name, and he is rotten. Okay? He is the worst kind of fake news guy there is. Makes stuff up, pushes it relentlessly, tries to have an impact when, well, quite frankly, he should be more of an observer. And if there isn't anything all that interesting to observe, I do believe he will make things up. Now, somehow he was added to the call. This has been confirmed by the National Security Council spokesperson. This is the thing. It shows me that somebody on that call was actually talking to this guy. When you add somebody to a group text, it means you're probably texting him. I don't know who it was, but this is not the kind of guy who should be hanging around the Trump administration.
But we have a White House that creates chaos, to borrow from Peggy, chaos for itself. It can create chaos on its own schedule, and it still messes it up. And so we have a serious
This is what the guy is all about, okay? He is an enemy of MAGA, an enemy of Trump, and he's the one who came up with that horrible and fake losers and suckers story, right? President Trump, who reveres those who serve. And this story was made up. It's been totally and thoroughly debunked. And it came out during, I believe, the 2020 campaign at the worst possible time, meant to have maximum negative impact by Jeffrey Goldberg. And President Trump, he was not afraid to call out the fake news. He never is. But I think this one was so outrageous, he brought it up a lot, as he should have.
There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. They made up this story about me looking down at graves saying sucker. They make it up, suckers and losers. Who were surrounded by military people? There's nobody that's stupid enough to make that statement. And I would be willing to swear on anything that I never said that about our fallen heroes. There is nobody that respects them more.
Well, I believe him, and I don't believe Jeffrey Goldberg, all right? And it's another reason why nobody from the administration should be dealing with this guy, and somebody was. You know, they should probably take a page out of President Nixon's book. President Nixon cut off reporters, just like I know President Trump has intended to cut off reporters. This is how he rolled. Granted, in the end, it didn't save him, possibly because the staff didn't always carry out the stuff he wanted them to carry out. Here's Nixon. He had been grievously wounded politically by the Washington Post, and if only they had listened to the president.
I want it clearly understood that from now on, ever, no reporter from the Washington Post is ever to be in the White House. Is that clear? Absolutely. Unless it's a press conference.
Yes, sir.
Now,
the briefings here, but
on a briefing. But never in the White House, no church service, no reporter from the Washington Post is ever to be in the White House again, and no photographer either. Mm-hmm. No photographer. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
None ever to be in. Now, that is a total order, and if necessary, I'll fire you. You understand?
I do understand.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I'll fire you. Well, I don't know if they listened, and they should have. How about that? What a warning. So back to the phone call. It was all about targeting the Houthis, right? Those bad guys. A lot of them are in Yemen, the Arabian Peninsula. They are a terrorist group, and they have to be stopped. It is a little puzzling that they would be having this phone call on Signal, which is not exactly, well, it's not impregnable. If you've got a bunch of apps on your phone right now, there's a good chance that you have Signal. And for something that's supposed to be encrypted, this wasn't particularly encrypted. What they could do is call into the Situation Room, right? Now, sometimes all the principals are there. This is the night they got Baghdadi, right? Pretty awesome night back during the first term. But I believe you can call in on a secure phone, and I don't know. But then again, maybe President Trump's national security staff, they're leery about being on government networks because the swamp did in Trump the first time around. Very early in his term, they were leaking stuff left and right, probably the CIA, right? As soon as it started, they were leaking on him. So maybe they're just trying to avoid leaks. And so every White House has their snafu. But this one, it just shows me you got to cut these fake news reporters loose. You got to keep them at bay. Nobody should be dealing with them. All right, next, please.
We are already facing what is rightfully being described as a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, listen, I think this is the most serious constitutional crisis the country has faced, certainly since Watergate.
We've got our toes right on the edge of a constitutional crisis here.
When everything's a constitutional crisis, nothing is a constitutional crisis. When was this? Guess. Was it yesterday? Could have been, but this one was actually sometime last month. And what was the issue? Everybody was afraid of Doge. Doge is doing something. Doge is uncovering this waste. How could they do it? How could they fire people? It's a constitutional crisis. Over the weekend, guess what? It was another constitutional crisis.
The presidential assault on the judiciary, a co-equal branch of government, has already stoked fears among some of a constitutional crisis.
I believe we are in a constitutional crisis, and in some ways, saying we are in a constitutional crisis does not convey the gravity of the situation.
We are in the heart of a constitutional crisis. Do you agree, is the United States in a constitutional crisis?
Yes, I do, Kristen, and democracy is at risk.
He doesn't even believe it. They've been saying that for 10 years, democracy is at risk. If democracy was really at risk, would he have been so mild-mannered? And would he have interrupted the democracy is at risk thing to talk about his own new book that pays him money? More on Chuck in a little bit. What were they talking about? This thing actually happened right now, over the weekend, over the past couple of days. And the issue now is how dare we deport Trende Aragua, right? These bad guys. Oh, my gosh. If we don't have these guys in the country, it is somehow a constitutional crisis. Well, there are a lot of radical, strange judges driving this thing. One of them is Bosberg. It's pronounced Bosberg, and he looks like this. Wow. He looks rather intense and possibly unhappy. So he has been giving the nicest treatment to these Tren de Aragua guys. He likes them. He is concerned about their rights, concerned that everything be met and maintained, even though they're not citizens. I think the Constitution governs citizens, right? And he was so nasty to the January 6ers. This guy put in prison 60-year-old women with cancer, right? Who did not hurt anybody, who did not break anything. And this guy yelled and screamed him at a court. How dare you come in here and not be more remorseful? It's really something. And everybody, Democrats, the elite media, they embrace Tren Day. And January 6th, they were the worst people, right? 9/11 and Pearl Harbor all wrapped into one. All right, Boasberg and the rest, they're not going to win, but there are skirmishes, and it's going to create some friction, but ultimately Trump will prevail, all right? He's got the votes in the Supreme Court. By the way, the Supreme Court should be tamping this down, and they have the authority to tamp it down right now. Next, please.
Donald Trump is a lawless, angry man. He thinks he should be king. He thinks he should do whatever he wants, regardless of the law. And he thinks judges should just listen to him. Now, we have to fight that back in every single way.
This guy, he's calling somebody else angry. He is the sternest, angriest, least happy person in Congress right now. His own party wants him gone. Talk about angry. President Trump, he doesn't strike me as angry, actually. He's having a great time. He just beat everything and everybody, all of his opposition, and he's enjoying himself, and he's still cracking jokes. It is fantastic. He is winning. He is not angry, but they still tell ghost stories about him, don't they? And sometimes those ghost stories, well, they actually are maybe a little bit scary. Check this out.
I believe that if Donald Trump should defy the courts, the public will rise up. Democrats will fight it in every single way. And I believe, autocrats only succeed, Kristen, if the public lets them. But if the public is so angry and takes action, and certainly we Democrats will, it will trigger a mass movement from one end of the country to the other, something that we haven't seen in a very long time.
What the hell is he talking about exactly? That seems kind of creepy, doesn't it? That we haven't seen in a long time since what? The revolution? I once said, hey, we got to fight for Trump. And I was attacked. Oh, Greg Kelly's encouraging violence. This sounded like he's got something in mind, Meanwhile, Tesla cars are blowing up all over the place, and that's somehow okay. But let's get to the business that he showed up for, book selling.
And I wrote this book. Can I explain a minute why I wrote this book?
Please.
I felt I had to do something. I gave speeches on the floor about anti-Semitism, but I had to do more.
All right. He gave speeches on the floor about anti-Semitism. He shouldn't have been on the floor giving speeches about anti-Semitism. He should have been confronting it on America's campuses, on America's streets. This guy shows up on a street corner for an ice cream parlor opening, but he would not confront the anti-Semitism that was all over the place. Okay, he's got a book. You also have a job. Confront this stuff. Let's go through some of the horrific things that happened, not only in his state, but across the country. And he was mute. He was nowhere to be seen. Speeches on the Senate floor? I'm telling you, he shows up for an ice cream parlor opening in New York, but he ran and hid from this stuff, almost to the point when they were taking over buildings at Columbia University, like, I don't know, he's okay with it, or he's scared of it, or he knows that the far left of his party, they're down with all this stuff. So he comes out with a book, so weak, and selling it. In the midst of a democracy in turmoil, he sells a book.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.